Your brain is being hijacked right now, and you don't even know it. Every notification, every scroll, every quick dopamine hit, they're all part of a system that's slowly destroying your ability to focus. You probably feel it. That constant pull toward your phone. That inability to sit with a difficult task for more than a few minutes. That sense that something invisible is controlling you. You're not imagining it. It's real. And it has a name, the dopamine trap. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, has dedicated years to understanding how the brain works. And what he's discovered is both terrifying and empowering. Your brain wasn't designed for the modern world. It was built for a time when rewards were scarce, when focus was survival, when distractions didn't exist every 3 seconds. But now your brain is being flooded with artificial rewards, likes, notifications, instant gratification, and it's changing the way you think. Literally rewiring your neural circuits. And the cost? Your focus. Your discipline. Your ability to do deep, meaningful work. But here's the truth that most people don't understand. This isn't a willpower problem. It's a biology problem. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's seeking dopamine. The issue is that the world around you has turned that natural drive into a trap. And once you're in it, breaking free feels impossible. You've probably tried. Maybe you deleted social media for a week. Maybe you put your phone in another room. Maybe you swore you'd focus better tomorrow. And then tomorrow came, and nothing changed. That's because you were fighting the wrong battle. You were trying to resist the trap instead of understanding it. Huberman's research reveals something critical. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. Most people think dopamine is the feel-good chemical. But that's not quite right. Dopamine is about anticipation. It's about the chase. It's the neurochemical that drives you to seek rewards. And here's where it gets dangerous. Your brain releases more dopamine when you're expecting a reward than when you actually get it. That's why scrolling social media is so addictive. Every swipe is a gamble. Will this post be interesting? Will someone have liked your photo? Your brain doesn't know, so it floods you with dopamine in anticipation. And you keep scrolling. Not because you're enjoying it, but because your brain is hooked on the possibility. This is the dopamine trap. And it's not just affecting your ability to focus for an hour. It's changing your brain's baseline. Every time you give in to that quick hit, you're training your brain to expect constant stimulation. You're raising the threshold for what feels rewarding. And suddenly, the things that used to matter, deep work, meaningful conversations, long-term goals, they don't trigger enough dopamine anymore. They feel boring, difficult, unrewarding. So you avoid them. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain has been recalibrated to crave the quick hit. And the worst part? Most people don't realize it's happening. They think they're just distracted. They blame themselves for lacking discipline. But Huberman's research shows that your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, decision-making, and self-control, is literally being weakened by this cycle. Every interruption, every switch between tasks, every dopamine spike from a notification, it's like doing reps at the gym, but in reverse. You're training your brain to be weak, to be scattered, to lose the ability to sustain attention. So what do? How do you break free when the entire world is designed to keep you trapped? That's what this video is about. Huberman has developed a protocol, a step-by-step, science-backed system to reset your dopamine baseline and rebuild your focus from the ground up. This isn't about motivation. It's not about trying harder. It's about understanding your brain and working with it, not against it. And by the end of this video, you'll have the exact tools you need to escape the trap. But first, you need to understand just how deep the trap goes. Because until you see the full picture, you won't take the steps necessary to change. So let's start with the science. Let's talk about what's really happening inside your brain when you can't focus. And more importantly, let's talk about why everything you've tried so far hasn't worked. The human brain operates on a currency called dopamine. It's the molecule of motivation, of drive, of wanting. And for most of human history, this system worked perfectly. When our ancestors spotted food, dopamine surged. When they achieved something difficult, dopamine rewarded them. It was a survival mechanism. a way to ensure that humans kept pursuing what mattered. But in the modern world, this ancient system has become a liability. Because now, dopamine isn't just triggered by meaningful achievements. It's triggered by everything. And it's happening constantly. Huberman explains that your brain has something called a dopamine baseline. Think of it as your default level of dopamine circulating in your system. When you experience something rewarding, dopamine spikes above that baseline. And after the spike, it drops below baseline for a period of time. This is normal. This is how your brain maintains balance. But here's the problem. When you chase dopamine spikes constantly, scrolling, clicking, switching tasks, your baseline starts to drop. And when your baseline is low, nothing feels good anymore. Everything feels flat. Even things that used to excite you now feel dull. You need bigger and bigger spikes just to feel normal. This is the trap. And it's not just about phones. It's about the entire way modern life is structured. Think about it. How often do you sit with boredom? How often do you let your mind wander without reaching for a distraction? Probably never. Because boredom feels unbearable now. But boredom is actually critical for your brain. Huberman's research shows that when you allow yourself to be bored, your dopamine baseline starts to recover. Your brain recalibrates. It learns to find reward in effort again, not just in easy hits. But most people never give their brain that chance. They fill every gap with stimulation. And their focus suffers as a result. Let's talk about what happens in your brain when you're constantly interrupted. Every time you switch tasks, checking your phone, opening a new tab, responding to a message, your prefrontal cortex has to reorient. It's like trying to run while constantly changing direction. You're burning energy without making progress. Studies show that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain focus after a single interruption. 23 minutes. And how many times a day are you interrupted? 10, 20, 50. Now multiply that. You're spending most of your day in a state of partial attention. Never fully present. Never fully focused. Just skimming the surface of everything. And it gets worse. Huberman points to research showing that chronic distraction doesn't just affect you in the moment. It changes the structure of your brain over time. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for executive function, decision-making, and focus, starts to weaken. Meanwhile, the parts of your brain associated with habit and impulsivity get stronger. You're literally training yourself to be distractible, to seek the quick hit, to avoid anything that requires sustained effort. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to reverse. But here's where it gets interesting. Huberman also explains that your brain is incredibly plastic. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections, means that the damage isn't permanent. You can rewire yourself. You can rebuild your focus. But you have to do it intentionally. You have to understand the system and work with it. And that's exactly what Huberman's protocol does. It uses your brain's natural mechanisms to reset your dopamine baseline and retrain your capacity for sustained attention. The first step in Huberman's protocol is something that sounds almost too simple: dopamine detox. But don't mistake simple for easy. A dopamine detox isn't about suffering. It's not about sitting in a dark room doing nothing. It's about strategically lowering your dopamine intake so your baseline can recover. Huberman recommends starting with a single day. A full day where you intentionally avoid high dopamine activities. No social media. No constant music. No binge watching. No mindless scrolling. Just you, your thoughts, and low stimulation activities. Go for a walk. Read a book. Sit with boredom. Let your brain reset. Now, this is going to feel uncomfortable. Your brain is going to scream for stimulation. You'll feel restless, anxious, maybe even irritable. That's normal. That's withdrawal. Your brain is so used to constant dopamine hits that when you take them away, it panics. But here's what Huberman wants you to understand. That discomfort is proof that the detox is working. You're giving your brain space to recalibrate. And after even just one day of low stimulation, you'll notice something remarkable. Tasks that felt unbearable before, writing, studying, deep work, they start to feel more manageable. Not because you suddenly got more disciplined, but because your dopamine baseline is recovering. What do you think so far? Share your thoughts below. Once you've done your first dopamine detox, the next step is to make it a regular practice. Huberman recommends implementing a weekly low dopamine day. 1 day a week where you intentionally keep stimulation low. This isn't about punishment. It's about maintenance. Think of it like rest for your brain. Athletes don't train at maximum intensity every single day. They build in recovery. Your brain needs the same thing. And when you give it that recovery, your baseline stays healthy. You maintain the ability to find reward in effort, not just in instant gratification. But the detox is only the beginning. Once your baseline starts to recover, you need to rebuild your capacity for sustained focus. And this is where Huberman's protocol gets really precise. He talks about something called ultradian cycles. These are natural 90-minute rhythms that your brain follows throughout the day. Your ability to focus peaks and dips in these cycles. And if you try to push through without respecting them, you burn out. You exhaust your prefrontal cortex. But if you work with these cycles, you can achieve deep focus without depleting yourself. Here's how it works. Huberman suggests structuring your day around 90-minute blocks of focused work. During these blocks, you eliminate all distractions. Phone off. Notifications silenced. Just you and the task. And for the first 5 to 15 minutes, it's going to feel hard. Your brain is going to resist. You'll want to check your phone. You'll want to switch tasks. But if you push through that initial resistance, something shifts. Your brain enters a state of deep focus. And once you're in that state, the work stops feeling like work. You're fully present. Fully engaged. This is flow. And it's only accessible when you respect your brain's natural rhythms. After 90 minutes, you take a break. A real break. Not scrolling social media. Not watching videos. Ideally, you go outside. You move your body. You let your mind wander. Huberman emphasizes the importance of natural light during these breaks. Sunlight triggers specific neurons in your eyes that signal to your brain that it's time to be alert. It helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which in turn affects your focus and energy levels throughout the day. This isn't optional. If you want sustained focus, you need to work with your biology, not against it. Now let's talk about the role of effort. Huberman makes a critical point. Your brain needs to learn that effort itself is rewarding. Right now, your brain has been trained to associate reward with ease, with quick hits, with instant gratification. But deep work, meaningful progress, long-term goals, they require sustained effort. And if your brain doesn't find effort rewarding, you'll never stick with anything difficult. So how do you retrain it? Through deliberate practice of sustained attention. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools for this. Not relaxation meditation. Focus meditation. Huberman recommends a simple practice. Sit still, choose a single point of focus, your breath, a sound, a visual object, and every time your mind wanders, bring it back. That's it. But here's the key. Every time you notice your mind has wandered and you bring it back, you're doing a rep. You're strengthening your prefrontal cortex. You're training your brain to sustain attention. This isn't about becoming a monk. You don't need to meditate for hours. Huberman suggests starting with just 5 to 10 minutes a day. But it has to be consistent. Because neuroplasticity, the rewiring of your brain, happens through repetition. One session won't change anything. But 5 minutes every day for a month? That will change your brain. You'll notice it in your work, in your conversations, in your ability to sit with difficult tasks without reaching for a distraction. Your focus will become sharper, more resilient, more under your control. Another critical piece of Huberman's protocol is managing your dopamine peaks strategically. Remember, dopamine isn't bad. It's necessary. It's what drives you to pursue goals. But the key is using it intentionally, not letting it use you. Huberman talks about something called dopamine stacking. This is when you layer multiple dopamine-triggering activities together. Listening to music while working out while drinking caffeine. Your brain gets a massive spike. And what happens after a massive spike? A massive drop. You feel depleted. unmotivated. So instead, Huberman recommends spacing out your dopamine hits. If you're going to have caffeine, don't also blast music. If you're going to celebrate a win, don't immediately move to the next dopamine source. Let your brain experience the natural rise and fall. This keeps your baseline stable. And here's something most people get wrong: celebrating wins. Huberman's research shows that when you achieve something, your brain releases dopamine. That's good. But if you immediately seek another dopamine hit, checking your phone, eating something sweet, turning on a show, you're training your brain to associate achievement with external rewards. Instead, Huberman suggests pausing after a win, sitting with the feeling, letting your brain process the internal reward of effort. This might sound small, but over time, it rewires your motivation system. You start to find satisfaction in the work itself, not just in the outcome. Thank you for staying. The best part is yet to come. Now we need to talk about environment. Because no matter how strong your focus becomes, if your environment is constantly triggering distraction, you're fighting an uphill battle. Huberman is very clear about this. Willpower is finite. You cannot rely on it alone. You have to design your environment to support focus, not sabotage it. And this starts with your physical space. Look around you right now. How many potential distractions are within arm's reach? Your phone, your computer with 15 tabs open, a TV remote, snacks. Every single one of these is a dopamine trigger. And every time your brain sees one, it has to exert effort to resist it. That's cognitive load. And it drains you. The solution is simple but requires discipline. Remove the triggers. When you're working, your phone should not be in the same room. Not on silent. Not face down. Not in your pocket. In another room. Because even knowing it's there creates a mental burden. Studies show that just having your phone nearby reduces your cognitive capacity, even if you never touch it. Your brain is constantly using resources to resist checking it. And those resources could be used for focus instead. So remove the temptation entirely. Make distraction hard. Make focus easy. Huberman also talks about the importance of monotasking. In a world that glorifies multitasking, this sounds almost radical. But the science is clear. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain cannot focus on two cognitively demanding tasks at once. What you're actually doing is task switching. And every switch has a cost. It depletes your prefrontal cortex. It fragments your attention. It makes everything take longer and reduces the quality of your work. So instead, Huberman recommends radical simplicity, one task at a time. Close all tabs except the one you're working on. Turn off notifications. Commit fully to the task in front of you. And when that task is done, then and only then, move to the next one. But what about when focus feels impossible? When you sit down to work and your brain just won't engage? Huberman has a solution for this too. He calls it the 5-minute rule. When you're resisting a task, commit to just 5 minutes. That's it. No pressure to finish. No expectation of perfection. Just 5 minutes of effort. What happens is fascinating. Once you start, the resistance fades. Your brain shifts into task mode. And more often than not, you keep going long past those 5 minutes. The hard part isn't the work itself. It's starting. And the 5-minute rule lowers the barrier to entry. It tricks your brain into engaging without triggering overwhelm. Let's talk about another hidden factor that destroys focus: stress. Chronic stress floods your brain with cortisol. And cortisol directly interferes with your prefrontal cortex. It impairs decision-making, weakens focus, and makes you more impulsive. Huberman explains that if you're trying to build focus while living in a state of chronic stress, you're fighting a losing battle. So managing stress isn't optional. It's foundational. And one of the most effective tools for this is breathwork. Huberman recommends a specific breathing protocol, the physiological sigh. It works like this: 2 sharp inhales through the nose, followed by a long exhale through the mouth. This pattern rapidly reduces stress in real time. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system and brings your body into a state of calm. And when your body is calm, your mind can focus. Sleep is another non-negotiable. Huberman is passionate about this. He says that if you're not sleeping well, nothing else matters. Your dopamine system, your prefrontal cortex, your ability to focus, all of it is regulated by sleep. When you're sleep deprived, your baseline dopamine drops. Your brain craves quick hits to compensate. And your focus suffers. So if you're serious about escaping the dopamine trap, you have to prioritize sleep. Huberman recommends getting morning sunlight within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. This sets your circadian clock and improves your sleep quality that night. Avoid bright lights in the evening. Keep your room cool and dark. And aim for 7 to 9 hours consistently. This isn't optional. This is the foundation. Now let's address something that almost no one talks about, the role of social connection in focus. Huberman's research shows that humans are wired for connection. And when you're isolated, your brain becomes more susceptible to distraction.
Why?
Because distraction is a form of social stimulation. Scrolling social media, watching videos, checking messages, these are all substitutes for real connection. Your brain is trying to fill a void. So if you want to reduce your dependence on digital distractions, you need to increase real-world connection. Spend time with people face to face. Have conversations without phones. Engage in activities that require presence. This satisfies your brain's need for connection in a healthy way and reduces the pull toward digital dopamine. Another tool Huberman recommends is cold exposure. This might sound extreme, but the science is solid. Cold showers or ice baths trigger a massive release of dopamine. But unlike the quick hits from social media, this dopamine release is sustained. It lasts for hours. And it's earned through effort. Your brain learns to associate discomfort with reward. This is powerful. It rewires your motivation system. You start to crave challenge instead of ease. And that mindset shift changes everything. You stop avoiding difficult tasks and start seeking them. Because your brain now knows that effort leads to reward. Let's talk about long-term sustainability. Because here's the reality. You can implement all of these strategies perfectly for a week, maybe even a month, but if you don't build systems to maintain them, you'll slip back. The dopamine trap is always there, waiting. The world hasn't changed. The distractions are still everywhere. So how do you protect yourself? How do you make focus a permanent part of your life, not just a temporary experiment? Huberman's answer is clear. You need to build what he calls focus rituals. These are non-negotiable routines that protect your mental space. A focus ritual is a set of actions you take before deep work that signal to your brain that it's time to engage. It could be as simple as making a specific type of tea, sitting in a designated chair, or doing 2 minutes of breath work. The content doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Your brain learns through repetition. And when you repeat the same sequence before focused work, your brain starts to anticipate it. The ritual becomes a trigger. And once the ritual is complete, your brain knows what's expected. It shifts into focus mode faster. The resistance decreases. And over time, entering deep focus becomes almost automatic. But rituals alone aren't enough. You also need boundaries. Clear, firm boundaries around your time and attention. Huberman talks about the importance of saying no. Not just to other people, but to yourself. Every yes to a distraction is a no to your goals. Every time you break focus to check a notification, you're choosing instant gratification over long-term progress. And if you do that enough times, you lose the ability to choose differently. So you have to practice saying no. Start small. Delay checking your phone by 5 minutes. Then 10. Then an hour. Build the muscle of resisting the pull. Because that muscle is your prefrontal cortex. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with use. Another critical piece of long-term focus is purpose. Huberman emphasizes that your brain needs a reason to care. If the work you're doing feels meaningless, no amount of protocol will make you focus. Because focus isn't just about blocking distractions. It's about engaging with something that matters. So you have to connect your daily tasks to a larger purpose. Why are you doing this? What's the goal? What will change if you succeed? When your brain has a clear answer, it cooperates. It finds the motivation to push through resistance. But if you're just going through the motions, your brain checks out. And distractions become irresistible. Huberman also talks about the concept of effort-based rewards. This is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make. In a world that constantly offers easy rewards, you have to intentionally seek hard ones. Choose the difficult path. Do the workout that challenges you. Have the conversation that scares you. Work on the project that demands everything you have. Because every time you choose effort over ease, you're training your brain to value discipline. You're building what Huberman calls a growth-oriented dopamine system. And once that system is in place, you stop needing external validation. You stop chasing likes and notifications. Because the work itself becomes the reward. Now let's address something that might be holding you back: perfectionism. A lot of people avoid deep work because they're afraid they won't do it perfectly. So they procrastinate. They distract themselves. They never start. Huberman's advice is simple: embrace imperfection. Your first draft doesn't have to be good. Your first attempt doesn't have to succeed. The goal is to engage, to show up, to build the habit of focus. And once the habit is there, quality follows. But if you wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect mood, the perfect level of motivation, you'll never start. And you'll stay trapped. Let's also talk about the role of rest. Real rest. Not scrolling. Not binge-watching. But intentional recovery. Huberman explains that your brain consolidates learning and strengthens neural connections during rest. So if you're working hard but never resting, you're undermining your own progress. You need time where your brain isn't being asked to perform. Time where it can wander, process, integrate. This is why activities like walking in nature, sitting in silence, or even just staring out a window are so valuable. They're not wasted time. They're essential for a high-functioning brain. And they protect your dopamine baseline by giving your system a break from constant stimulation. Here's something most people don't realize. Your relationship with your phone is a relationship. And like any relationship, it requires boundaries. Huberman suggests treating your phone like a tool, not a companion. It's there to serve a purpose, not to fill every quiet moment. So create rules. No phone in the bedroom. No phone during meals. No phone for the first hour of the day. These aren't restrictions. They're protections. They give your brain space to exist without constant input. And that space is where clarity lives, where creativity emerges, where focus becomes natural again. Finally, Huberman reminds us that escaping the dopamine trap isn't about becoming a robot. It's not about eliminating all pleasure or living a joyless life. It's about reclaiming control. It's about choosing when and how you engage with dopamine instead of being controlled by it. It's about building a life where you can focus on what matters, achieve your goals, and still enjoy the process. Because that's what real freedom looks like. Not the absence of distraction, but the presence of choice. So here we are. You've learned the science. You've learned the protocol. Now comes the most important question. Will you actually do it? Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. And if you close this video and go right back to scrolling, nothing changes. The dopamine trap doesn't care that you understand it now. It's still there. Still pulling. Still hijacking your brain every chance it gets. The difference is that now you have a choice. You know what's happening. You know how to fight back. And that knowledge is power, but only if you use it. Huberman's protocol isn't complicated. It doesn't require expensive tools or hours of your day. It requires commitment. It requires consistency. It requires you to choose discomfort over distraction. To choose effort over ease. To choose long-term freedom over short-term relief. And that choice is hard. It's supposed to be hard. Because your brain has spent years, maybe decades, being conditioned to seek the quick hit. To avoid boredom. To run from anything that feels difficult. Reversing that conditioning takes time. It takes patience. But it's possible. Start with one thing. Just one. Pick the strategy from this video that resonated most with you. Maybe it's the dopamine detox. Maybe it's the 90-minute focus blocks. Maybe it's removing your phone from your workspace. Whatever it is, commit to it for 1 week. Not forever. Just 1 week. And watch what happens. you'll notice something shifting. Maybe it's subtle at first. Maybe you sit with a task for 10 minutes instead of 5. Maybe you feel less restless. Maybe you catch yourself reaching for your phone and choose not to. These small wins matter, because they're proof that you're not broken. You're not weak. You've just been living in an environment designed to fragment your attention. And now you're taking it back. Huberman says that the brain is the most adaptable organ in the body. It changes based on what you do, what you focus on, what you repeat. And that means you have more control than you think. Every decision you make is either reinforcing the old patterns or building new ones. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you're strengthening the neural pathways that support deep work. Every time you sit with boredom instead of reaching for your phone, you're resetting your dopamine baseline. You're rewiring your brain. And over time, those small choices compound. They become your new default. But let's be honest. You're going to fail. There will be days when you check your phone too much. Days when you can't focus no matter what you try. Days when the distractions win. And that's okay. Failure isn't the problem. Giving up is. Huberman's research shows that progress isn't linear. Your brain doesn't rewire overnight. There will be setbacks. But as long as you keep coming back, as long as you keep choosing the hard path, you're moving forward. So don't expect perfection. Expect resistance. And meet it with consistency. Here's the truth that no one wants to hear. The world isn't going to make this easy for you. Technology companies have spent billions of dollars figuring out how to capture your attention. They've hired neuroscientists, designers, and behavioral psychologists to make their platforms as addictive as possible. They know exactly how to trigger your dopamine system. And they're not going to stop. So if you're waiting for the world to change, you'll be waiting forever. The only thing you can control is yourself. Your choices. Your environment. Your habits. And that's enough. Huberman's protocol gives you a roadmap. But you have to walk the path. No one can do it for you. Not a video. Not a book. Not a motivational speech. This is on you. And that's actually good news. Because it means your focus, your discipline, your mental clarity, they're not dependent on external circumstances. They're dependent on you. And you have everything you need to reclaim them. You just have to decide that you're worth the effort. So here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, implement one strategy from this protocol. Just one. Make it simple. Make it specific. And track it. Write it down. Because what gets measured gets managed. And at the end of the week, come back and tell us how it went. What changed? What was hard? What surprised you? Because this isn't just your journey. It's a shared one. And the more we talk about it, the more we normalize the fight for focus, the stronger we all become. Your brain is the most powerful tool you'll ever own. But right now, someone else is using it. The platforms. The notifications. The endless scroll. They're using your brain to serve their goals. And every day that you let that continue, you're giving away your most valuable resource, your attention. But today that ends. Today you take it back. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because you deserve a life where you're in control. Where you can focus on what matters. Where you can build something meaningful. And that life starts now. Andrew Huberman has given you the science. The protocol. The tools. Everything you need is right here. Now it's your move. What was your biggest takeaway from this video? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. And if this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started. The next video is going to blow your mind. We're diving into Huberman's sleep protocol and how sleep is the secret weapon for peak mental performance. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you there.